Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. The danger of frost is past, and it is time to plant the summer flowering annuals. Also, we're planting potatoes. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Joellen Diamond. Joellen is the Director of Landscape at the University of Memphis, and Mr. Tom Mashore will be joining me later. Hi, Joellen. You know I like this, right?
Yeah. Well, look, we had to cover the bed because we had rain.
Okay.
And we knew we were going to do this today, so we covered the bed so the soil wouldn't be too wet. Because if the soil's too wet and we're going to be working in it, we're going to lose all of our pore space for air and water exchange. Okay. And we don't want to compact what we've loosened up already. So now we'll unveil it and see how everything looks.
All right. Get that one out the way. There we go. What do you think?
Well, you know, the snapdragons look like they did pretty good, but of course they didn't bloom through the winter. They're getting ready to bloom again, but it's time for us to change them out. But the pansies, we put trailing pansies in here and they did not do well. So we'll cross those off the list for this bed because they didn't do well here. And the daffodils, they've come and they've bloomed and now they're about gone. We'll leave them in the ground, you know, while we plant the others and let them die so they'll get energy to bloom again. Okay. So I guess it's the compost pile for everything else that's left.
This is going to be tough.
I know you hate to do that.
This is tough for
and
me.
they're getting ready to bloom again.
Getting ready to bloom.
I know, they're getting ready to bloom again.
It is tough. Yeah.
But it's time to change them out. And these snapdragons did very well here.
These are nice.
They did very well here.
Good root system.
Good root system. And you know, they may have done so well that they shaded out the pansies. So that might be why the pansies didn't do well either.
You think about it too, the bed is really not weedy.
No, well, it was covered with plants, so they shaded out any of the weeds. Also, it's got nicely mulched, and that also helped shade out the weeds. Yeah, the more cover you have over the ground, the less weeds you'll have.
It's a good lesson.
We will try to ignore the daffodils, and we could always tie them up if we wanted to. Sometimes people will divide them and tie them up just to keep them out of the way.
Right.
Then they let them die down. We might do that to this one and that one and leave the back. And then we have something new to plant in the bed this year.
I like new in the bed.
Some plants that we haven't tried before. Okay. First, we will plant some salvia, blue salvia. And the variety of this called Victoria, which is the original blue salvia that was annual like this, had a tendency to be somewhat perennial in this area, depending on the weather in the winter. So we can try to leave these in the ground in the fall and see if they will be perennial. But this is a variety, a newer variety, so I don't know if they will live or not.
Oh, this is our trial.
This is our trial.
Bed, right, it's our trial bed.
But we can go ahead and plant these.
So while you're setting those out, what are you thinking in your head as far as the pattern?
Well, we've got only 7 of these, and they're going to be a little bit larger. I think they'll get about 12 inches tall and wide, so I wanted to spread them out in the bed. I like to set them out so you see where they're going to be planted and if they're even in the bed before you start planting. And even though I set these out, I don't like them. They're not even in the bed, so I've got to move this over She'll move that one over.
Okay.
Move this one over. This one over. This one's okay. This one down.
I'm about to tell you, you gotta get an eye for that. Have you done this before?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now they're evenly
Yeah, that looks
spaced in the
good.
bed, so we'll have nice blue throughout the beds. And we can start planting the salvia first, and then
Okay.
we'll plant the next plant. Now there's mulch in this bed, so we're going to move the mulch out of
Yeah.
the way because the mulch is still good. Got a little rock. You don't need the rock. And then I would put my fingers on either side of the stem and gently squeeze the container
Gently.
and let the plant come out and look at the roots, and you see they're just starting to fill the container. You don't need to really do anything. They're going to be going out, and we will dig our hole.
Right.
And we will plant them at soil level.
Soil level.
And gently put mulch just back up and around it. So it's right there. Now this soil is nice and loose. Put this plant in at ground level. You set the soil around it. You don't have to pack the soil in because that's going to, we've already got this soil nice and loose for air and water movement for the roots. And it's nice and light and dry. When we get finished, we'll water it in, and that will settle in the soil around the roots. And we don't have to force soil in around them. Now, before we go any further, we need to add some fertilizer.
You recommend the
Just some type of
Slow
slow
release?
release fertilizer, not particular about what kind. You don't have to put a whole lot in. And this should last for several months. Next, we're going to put in these red petunias.
Hey, I like petunias.
Now, we've not used petunias in this bed.
Right.
And petunias do like to be somewhat dry, so it should be interesting to see how they handle the irrigation.
Okay.
Let's see what kind of root system we have here.
They look good.
Oh, that's a nice root
Oh, it's
system. We're going to
nice.
have to
That's nice.
do a little trimming, pushing those around a little bit. This particular petunia is a wave petunia, so we shall see how it does in here.
Ah, look at the root system on that one.
It's got some good roots in here. So we'll plant these, and then we'll finish up with our yellow marigolds. Plant these the same way. The top of the soil level of the petunia should be at the soil level that exists in the bed.
Okay.
And I see this one needs a little bit, we don't want that box or rounding to keep going. So what we'll do is just move this out a little bit so it stops circling and go out and into the bed.
There you go.
All right.
Right.
Now for the last color.
Okay.
We're going to put in yellow marigolds. For these, I got small ones
Small,
to
okay.
fill in because we'll use a lot of them.
Okay.
And you'll notice a little bit of these have got some freeze damage on it. We had an unusual cold snap,
Yeah.
and the nursery couldn't put everything in, so they're still all right. These are tough. We'll start planting them. These will be easier to plant, and you know, they're not too bad. You might just, if you see a lot of roots at the bottom, you might move it out of the way
Yeah.
so they stop circling or going in that little square box. But again, don't plant these too deep. It can be easy, they're small. So don't plant them too deep. Well, There we go.
So what do you think?
Primary colors, blue, red, and yellow. Can't wait to see how this works.
Okay.
And we will leave the daffodils in until they turn brown because we want them to bloom next year. So they've got to get energy to be able to do that, and they'll die naturally. And we'll just take them off the soil surface.
Okay. It's always exciting. Yeah, I can't wait to see what it looks like
That'll be good.
once it gets up and grows, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Joellen. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. This is why we tell you to look at your plants when you buy them at the nursery. We had experienced a 30-degree single night temperature. The nursery couldn't get all of their plants inside. They only stuck them as far down as they could on the ground to cover them under a bench. But as you can see, the freeze still affected the leaves of these marigolds. Marigolds are tough though, so they will probably come out of this because the new buds underneath here are still fine. The majority of the plant is still fine. It's just the top leaves that got burned from the freeze. That's why you need to make sure you look for damage to plants before you buy them and try to buy healthier plants. But this plant will also survive this damage.
All right, Mr. Tom. Welcome back to the Family Plot Garden, sir.
Oh, thank you, mister. I always love coming back here. And we are going to be planting potatoes.
So it's potatoes, right?
Potatoes.
Potatoes.
Toes.
All right.
And we call them Irish potatoes
Why do we call them Irish potatoes?
to distinguish them from sweet potatoes.
Ah, okay.
That's the only reason.
Okay.
Even your reference manuals call them Irish potatoes.
Okay.
But we'll be using seed potatoes.
Now, what are seed potatoes?
Seed potatoes? Well, here is a seed potato, and this is a store-bought potato.
Okay.
Notice the difference.
I see the
The
difference.
store-bought potatoes are harvested, cleaned, cured, and then sprayed to retard any sprouting.
Okay.
Seed potatoes, on the other hand, are unwashed, right as they come out of the garden, and they're not treated.
Right.
So obviously we got a lot of these, and this is what we want,
Right.
are these little critters.
Okay.
Now, we can plant the whole potato, or we can cut it in pieces and plant individual pieces to increase our crop.
Okay.
And the way we do that is to take a cutting tool
All right.
and look at the potato and look for an area that's got at least one beginning sprout.
Okay.
Here we got one, two, three,
That's got a lot of them on there.
4.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and cut this one here apart from the rest of them. It's nice to have a sharp knife.
Oh, yeah. Right through it.
Just like that.
Okay.
Then I'm going to do this piece right here. Well, actually, there's the beginning of another one right there, so I'm going to take both those. 1 or 2 is pretty good.
All right. Does it matter how deep you have to cut those?
No, not really.
Okay. All right.
There is one thing you got to do, though. You want to do this at least 2 or 3 days before you actually want to plant it.
Okay.
And here's that big one, but I don't need all this potato for it, so I'm going to
Cut up a little
cut
bit.
them a little bit there and a little bit there. And that looks good.
Ah.
But one of the things you want to do is you want to cut it up 2 to 3 days before you're going to actually plant it,
Okay.
so that it develops a skin or a callus over the part that you cut, which will help it prevent it from rotting in the soil before it starts developing roots and whatever that is.
Okay.
And when we plant these potatoes, we want to plant them between 3 and 5 inches deep, or right in the middle is 4 inches.
Okay.
And then you plant them 12 inches apart, 36 inches, 30 to 36 inches between rows.
So
I like them a little bit closer. Just as long as you can get into them and harvest them with a lifting fork, rather without stepping on other plants.
Sure.
So I will go with a little bit wider than I normally do.
Okay.
Normally 18 inches will usually between my plants.
Okay. It's enough space.
Okay, well, these babies, and I have a bunch of them already cut up,
Okay.
are going to go into the ground.
All right, let's get them in the ground. Let's see your special technique for
Well,
getting them in the ground.
my special technique is getting on my hands and knees.
Ah, okay.
Now, I also like to cheat, keep my wife happy from cleaning up muddy clothes.
Ah, there you go.
I like these.
Okay.
One thing I also like is old floor mats in cars.
It's a good idea.
They rather than tossing them out when they get uncleanable.
Yeah, watch that.
There we
Watch
go.
that one.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you think about our soil here?
Well, it should be a little bit finer,
Okay.
but
Because you like it fine. All right.
yeah, this is cool.
Okay, it's fine.
And I got a trowel here that actually has graduations on it, tells me how deep I'm going. So I'm going to shoot for 4 inches.
Okay. Let's see how good you are. All right.
Are you going to come back and measure it?
Maybe.
Okay. All right, well, there we go. Well, one nice thing about it, it's going down very easy. I don't have to dig very
Oh,
hard.
that's good.
So down we go, shoots pointing upward,
Pointing up. Okay.
or as best you can do it. And then do that, and go over.
Ah.
Sometimes I cheat,
Uh-huh.
and I planted it there, so I'm gonna go 12 inches. Normally, if I got plants I can stick up, I can look at it, where approximate what I want to do. Just take that. This one's got an eyes right there.
Okay. Shoots go up.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And I think I won't use this anymore because now I got an approximate idea what 12 inches is. Does it have to be exact? Eh.
Now, does pH matter or anything like that?
Well, yeah, it kind of likes
Okay.
pretty much slightly acid, as most vegetables do.
Sure.
Let me go down a little bit deeper. I don't want Chris to get on my case. There we go.
How long before the shoot actually
Breaks through the
emerges
soil.
from the soil?
Maybe 10, 12 days.
Okay. Not long.
No. But I also, at my age,
Got the label.
I have short-term memory, so I always make mistakes.
That's smart though. Red potatoes. All right. So how much water would they need?
You don't want too much water in the beginning.
Okay.
And like most vegetables, they don't like to have their feet wet, but they do like a moist soil. This one here would probably come up pretty quick.
All right.
All right, the last one's in. Now, a couple things to keep in mind
Okay.
that to again increase your production, when the plant starts coming up and gets up around 12 inches or so, then you need to heal it up with either soil or pine straw or wheat straw, and cover it up all but the top 3 or 4 inches so that it will produce tubers within the raised area or the straws. Keep it in mind, you don't want the sun to hit any part of the growing tubers. Otherwise they're going to turn green, they are toxic, throw them away.
Oh, throw them away. All right.
Okay, and if you're a container grower, this type of container is great for one potato plant. Just put about a third of the soil in it, plant it, and then as it grows, again, add more soil or more pine straw or wheat straw. And again, you'll get some clean potatoes. When it's time to harvest, and you'll know that is when the foliage starts wilting and dying back, then wait an additional week to 10 days, and then go ahead and start digging up your potatoes. Now they do have potato forks that have like 9 to 11 tines close together for lifting up the potatoes without damaging them. They're kind of expensive though. But if you got a digging fork, they'll work okay. Time to cure it, which means harden it off. Ideally you want it like in a 60-degree area, but here in the Mid-South, ain't gonna happen. Not in the summertime. So I put it under the shade of a tree, spread them out, and let them cure for a week to 10 days after that. By the way, the prime planting time is from March the 15th to April the 15th, also from 1st to 31st of July for a fall crop. Nice thing about growing your own potatoes, you're going to have a hard time trying to find seed potatoes in July. But the potatoes you're growing, since they're not going to be treated, are seed potatoes. So you save some of those for your July crop.
All right, Mr. Tom, we appreciate that demonstration.
Thank you, sir. I
We
enjoy
will
doing
see
it.
what happens, right?
I am anxious myself.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm hungry for French fries now. Thank you much, all right?
Thank you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Well, 6 weeks ago, we planted these radishes as some of the first things in the square foot garden here, and they're ready to harvest. They're incredibly fast, and so they make a good early spring crop. With radishes, you need to make sure that you don't let them go too long, or what they'll do is they'll bolt, and the radish won't be any good anymore. So I'm just gonna go ahead, it's easy to do, just pull them up. This looks a nice looking radish. And just continue, I'm gonna pull them all up. And I am gonna post how many of these we got and how much they all weighed, and it'll go into the tally of what we all grew in the square foot garden this year. So I'm just gonna continue to do this.
All right, Jordan, here's our Q&A segment. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
These are good questions.
Yes.
All right. It's our first via email. We have a lot of earthworms in our yard because we rarely use any chemicals. But last year we were invaded by the hammerhead worms, and they have really reduced our earthworm population. How do we get rid of hammerhead worms in our yard besides pouring salt on them when I find them? And this is Terry. So there have been a lot of reports, about hammerhead worms.
It's definitely an invasive species.
Invasive species, of course, it does eat, our
That's the
native
bad part.
earthworms here. Also, it feeds on snails and slugs.
Which is good, but
Yeah.
then again, I really would rather have my earthworms.
Yes, I would rather have the earthworms. So according to some publications that I've seen recently from Missouri Extension, is one, Alabama Cooperative Extension another, is this. There's not enough known about the hammerheads yet as far as control goes. So they're actually recommending using salt, using vinegar or citrus acid.
I was thinking citrus.
So you just have to be careful, about using too much of that, because that will change the dynamics of your soil fertility.
Sure will.
Right. So those right now are the recommendations until we learn a little bit more, about the hammerhead worms.
Yeah, destructive.
That's going to be destructive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And something else I read in those publications, don't cut the worms in half.
No, because then they're like the earthworms.
Yeah.
Then there'll be
It's
two
like-
of them.
Yeah, it'll be two of them.
Oh.
Yeah, so don't do that. But yeah, you usually see them after heavy rain. They of course come up to the surface, and they are devouring our earthworms. How about that?
Well, if you weren't queasy enough, and after a rain you saw them, to help keep the salt and everything out of the earth, you could just kind of collect them all and then. But who wants to go out there and collect all of them?
you have to still get rid of it.
That's.
And then too, you might want to wear gloves.
Yeah,
as you're doing
definitely.
this, because again, we don't know enough about the
Right.
hammerhead worms. So maybe some toxic,
Wow, who
substances, present within those worms. So you have to be careful, with that. But golly, and of course hammerhead, because the head is shaped like a hammer. But it's like golly, how about that?
That's
As much as we love our earthworms, and there's something out there attacking the earthworms.
Yeah, we need, and the birds need the earthworms, and even the moles need the earthworms.
Yeah. And so a lot of the reports that I've read said that these hammerhead earthworms made their way here, plant material,
Oh dear.
in pots.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're so small that you can't see them. So by the
Right.
time you plant them in the ground, there they go. They start to multiply. So how about that?
Well, hopefully there'll be better research done, and we'll
Hopefully
get a
so.
better solution.
Hopefully so. Yeah, the surrounding states are already seeing them, so it's probably somewhere here present in Tennessee. All right, Terry, so we thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Here's our next via email. My 20-year-old Edith Bogue magnolia tree has dropped 2 large branches in 2 years. The last one was in January when we had 3 inches of snow. Is there anything I can do to help my magnolia tree hold on to its branches? The tree is at its maximum size according to the label, 30 feet tall, or maybe a little taller. This is Alice from Jonesboro, Tennessee. So yeah, pretty tall tree, right? 30
Yes.
feet tall. All right. So
And-
is there anything that can be done?
Well, you know, the Edith bog tree is one of the best magnolia trees for, it's a very hardy magnolia.
Ah, okay.
It's
know
considered one
that.
of the better, more hardy of the southern magnolias.
Okay.
So she
good to know.
She picked a good choice for the variety. Yeah, prune. We had
That's what I
bad
thought,
weather.
yeah.
You're gonna have to prune out all the dead and make sure it's a good cut.
Okay.
And then she may have to hire somebody to do that.
Yeah, certified arborist maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hire somebody to prune the tree for you, make nice straight cuts so that those wounds heal. I would do a little soil test and make sure what the pH is, and then put some fertilizer down according to recommendations, just to keep it healthy and to try to regenerate those areas. Other than that, there's really not much you can do.
Okay. I agree with that. Yeah, keep the tree as healthy as possible. Right. You know, by doing those cultural practices you just talked about. You know,
Yeah.
make sure it gets water and things like that. So there you have it, Alice. We thank you for the question. But yeah, 30 feet tall is pretty good size magnolia tree.
But she's got a good one.
Oh, you got a good one. Okay. Yeah. So do those cultural practices, and we think you'll be okay. If not, you can always consult a certified arborist. Come out and check the tree health. All right, Joel, that was fun.
It was.
Thank you much. We appreciate that. Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching. This is the 13th time Joellen has planted flowers in our annual bed. If you want to see what she has planted in the past, head on over to familyplotgarden.com. We have all the videos and a lot more. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.